Hey, everybody, this is Kenlon and my post-eclipse update. All right, so some of you know I was in Austin for the eclipse, and I want to just share my story about it. I think it was pretty epic, and there was an astrological moment that happened that I don't know if anyone else saw this. I'd be really interested if you saw this and if I'm just making this thing up. But here's what happened. So rain was forecasted. It was supposed to be cloudy. And that was like on the heels of having some really beautiful days there. But honestly, I just knew that I wanted to be in that frequency and I wanted to see my friends. And so I just went with no expectation. And that's funny because the gene key that I just did a transmission on is the shadow of expectations. And so that was what was in play, and really the city of celebration. Through the pathway of non-attachment. So you can't make this up. So that's the game I played, just non-attachment. And we gathered and it was really awesome to witness. We were just at a home and the home had a deck that was like in the trees. And then we just saw enough sky and it parted, the clouds parted so that we could see the sun and the moon make its movement to totality. And it was great. The neighbors were hooting and hollering. We were hooting and hollering. We all had chills. But that's not what the amazing part was. I mean, it was amazing, but here's what really happened that blew me away. So imagine if you saw this or you're just imagining or you saw photos of the sun and then the moon moves in front of the sun. And then just as the moon continues to move, there was this flicker. It was just nanoseconds after totality. There wasn't any sliver at all. It was just like a nanosecond after totality. There was this small dot of light on the sun. So if I'm looking at it here, it was up like right about at 6 o'clock. Small dot of light. And it just was pronounced. And I was like, what is that? That must be a planet. And then I'm thinking, what's the closest planet? It's Mercury. So I get my phone out and I have the Sky app and I put my Sky app up there. And indeed, Mercury's there. And then we saw Jupiter, which was in Taurus. All the other planets were in the sun, the moon, Chiron, Venus, and Mercury were in Aries, the North Node also in Aries, but the Sky app just picked up the sun, moon, and Mercury. And I was like, whoa, it was like, here's the metaphor and here's the meaning that I'm making out of this. Because Mercury is retrograde, right? And Mercury is the messenger. That's why Mercury is associated with our minds. We get messages. So when the sun was experiencing its rebirth, it went dark to us and rebirthed itself to us. It gave the codes to Mercury. And it said, Mercury, you're the messenger. Take these codes to the people. That's what I got out of it. And so I'm just super curious because Mercury is in retrograde. A lot of people, I asked on the Sisterhood Activation call inside the membership today what people received. A lot of clarity is coming through, more clarity than ever before. One woman reported that she just cried and cried and cried. And then she's now in a place of euphoria and clarity. Another woman said it was super chaotic and now it's getting clear. That's my report too. I feel a clarity coming on. And I'm going to say something else about that because I think this is going to really serve those of us on this path, the spiritual path as priestesses, midwives, light workers. The clarity is, what am I here to do? Now, I know we always talk about that, but when it lands, when you're clear, it's beautiful because you know what that means? You're not in competition with anyone else. You don't have bright, shiny object syndrome because there are a million things you can do, but you know that they're not for you because you're clear on what's for you, at least on the drishti, like your third eye gaze is on your target. Now we have a lot of experimentation, especially if you are an entrepreneur, a coach, a healer. You know, that those are third line activities. Third line, meaning in human design and the gene keys, is an experimentation. So we're always here to experiment. However, having your eye on the target is what's so important. Knowing what you're here for and letting go of what you're not here for. And that, particularly in the space that I'm in the divine feminine space, there's so many people talking about archetypes or goddesses or the moon cycles or energy or whatever. We're all talking about kind of the same thing, but we all talk about it through our own lens. Like there's nobody who talks about it like me, because that would be impossible. They would have to have my birth blueprint. There's no one who talks about it like you, because they would have to have your birth blueprint. So we're like able to own our blueprint. And I've been doing practices specifically around owning my birth blueprint. And if you want to get a hold of that practice, I did actually make a class, a small recording, a mini course called Medicine Wheel. And it uses the directions plus your rising sign and your sun sign. And that practice has been a part of this metamorphosis of knowing clearly what I'm here for and letting go. It's such a relief to let go of what I'm not here for. And I don't know if you can experience that or have experienced that in yourself, but in this space, when it's really small, a small, tight space of like divine feminine work or feminine embodiment work or empowerment work, it can be, it can feel like there's competition, or like, I wish I said it like that person, or I wish I had that training, just because it's such a crowded space. But for me, what's happening is like the letting go of all of that. So we really get to step into our own unique template. I call that a soul signature. And I have more to say about your energy signature, your soul signature, in terms of a class that I'll be bringing forward and teaching. But for now, Medicine Wheel is available, and I'll put that in the notes below if you would like to get that class. And I just do it every morning. It's less than 15 minutes. It's sometimes even really short. And I just activate these codes. And what's so interesting, and I'm going to tell you this story too. What's so interesting is that I was doing it Friday on the dock in Austin with the river behind me, because I was facing east. And I was calling in Venus spontaneously, and I didn't realize it until later that Friday is Venus Day. And I was calling in Venus because that corresponds to my rising sign. So really, I mean, amazing things are happening, but just my dialogue with myself around Venus and my rising sign shifted for me something about my blueprint, and just like a self-acceptance, like, oh yeah, I really do roll this way. I don't roll that way. So if I embrace more of how I roll instead of going against the grain, then I'm just going to be happier. And that was my intention in sharing this practice with you. I mean, I would love for all people to really embrace their template and just be happy with who we are. That's where the money, that's where the magnetism, that's where the sparkle dust comes, where you really feel like you're in your zone of dharma, of giving, of receiving. So that's part of my post-eclipse update. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your post-eclipse update. If there's anything you want to report, put it in the comments below. I read all the comments, even though I don't always get a chance to respond. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next video.